There we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
That better?
all right, that's okay. All right, so there we go.
We have
We're
mics.
still ironing out creases, mate.
Yep.
Ironing out creases and
That's
doing
it.
this live this live thing. So no, welcome. Good to have you here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to speaking with you because when I did an older podcast track from my studio days, it was one of the most memorable podcasts I've done because we just had such a fucking good comment. This is a good old rave, wasn't it?
That was the Melbourne
Unreal.
Melbourne Unreal, yeah.
Which has now been put to rest, and this is taken over.
Moving up in the
Yeah,
world.
well, we're trying something different, trying something new. Ah, look, here we go. Hello. We've got, sorry, for those who don't know, just a couple of friends of ours just walked in, which is always nice to have support. Anyway, Mike, so what's been happening with you, my friend? For those who don't know, look, Mike's just an all-round amazing guitar player, singer-songwriter, predominantly blues root scene, is, just kicks ass as an artist, and he's one of those guys who does it completely full-time for a living. And so I thought I want to get him on because for those of you who are aspiring towards becoming full-time musicians, listening to Mike's story and his philosophy will hopefully will give you some insights and ideas and other things to consider should you want to do it, because he's living proof that it can be done. And in fact, I'll tell you how outstanding this guy is. I think it was late last year at the Face the Music conference. I was at one of Tom Larkin's one of the events, and he asked a question. There would have been about 100 people in the room, I'm kind of guessing, and he asked for all the people that were musicians to put their hand up, of which there were a great majority of them. And then he proceeded to go through this process of elimination, where basically he wanted to know, okay, who here in this room is a full-time working musician, selling CDs, selling merch, and that's all they do, and that's how they make their income. And Mike was the only guy in the room who had his hand up, which really blew me away. I was really quite staggered by that. So he's going to have some pearls of wisdom. So that's why you're here, mate. That's why you're here. So so tell us what you've been up to. Where you at these days, and what things you got going on?
So I tour pretty much full time. I do around 130, 140 shows a year all over Australia. Recently, I've been touring through Queensland, New South Wales. I was in Sydney last week, Brisbane a few weeks before that, doing a support for the Doobie Brothers, which was...
Yeah, dude, I remember that video. You got up stage and sang "Listen to the Music" with the band. Was that their encore song?
Yeah, that was their last song. So I did the support, and I had a half-hour set for the support, and I hung around for most of their sets side of stage just to watch them closely and just soak in as much as I could, because it's another level with those guys. And just being close to it and feeling, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, and really picking up on their vibe is incredible. And right before the last song, Pat Simmons, one of the main guys, one of the original members, because there's three original members now, he thanked me for doing the support and saw me standing side of stage and said, "Right, you come on out." And I was like, holy fuck, like all your Christmases have come at once and more. So I was on cloud nine for about a week or two after that.
Yeah, man, it was an amazing bit of video too. Like, it was just the energy of the room and the crowd was fucking outstanding.
Yeah, biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. So about 1,500 people at the Tivoli Theatre in Brisbane. So
I can't imagine what it'd be like, dude. Just sing. I mean, obviously they were there to see the Doobies, but nonetheless, to be performing in front of a crowd who are just so fucking there. They're just eating out of the palm of their fucking hands, and you can do no wrong, pretty much.
They're right in your face. And I remember the hour before the gig, because there was 1,500 people there, packed in this room. Like an hour and a half before I even started playing. So I was running back and forth from the dressing room, which I never normally have a dressing room, mind you, the gigs that I do, but I did on this night, and seeing this crowd, and the most nervous I've ever been before a gig, and I've done over 1,000 shows all over the world since I've been doing this, and I can manage nerves pretty well, but it was nerve-wracking, just going back and forth and seeing that, and they're right there, and you can't see one vacant spot in the room. It's just full of people. I'm used to playing to small crowds in little bars. This was not that, and it was fucking nerve-wracking, but it was great, and I loved every minute of it.
As you should have. And hopefully there'll be more of those things for you, mate.
Definitely, it was a big turning point for me to do a show like that and know that I was able to pull it off. Had a lot of great response from that.
Yeah.
Had the highest CD sales night I've ever had.
Awesome.
In my entire career that night, and a lot of new fans and more
exposure and
more awareness,
yeah.
more likes on the Facebook page and comments and all that sort of stuff. So it was great.
And just to have that a band of that caliber, now you're in their awareness, and at least they know of you, don't they? If nothing else happens, at least
they're aware.
They're aware that you exist, and they remember that you did a kick-ass show.
Yeah, and they genuinely liked it. And one thing I really liked about them was, you know, some of those classic rock acts that are still touring, some of them still love it. Others, it's just a paycheck and they don't really want to be there. It's just a job. With them, they love it. And they're in their late 60s now, and they're still playing like I reckon they would have when they were teenagers. There's just so much passion there. Yeah, they really want to be there. And
I don't know how you could do it and not have that passion.
At that age, because I think it would get a lot harder to maintain a rigorous touring schedule like that.
Without doubt.
There's probably 15 to 20 people in their crew that travel with them all over the world, and it's a really well-oiled, tight operation. Everything is meticulously organised. Yeah. I was told exactly what time I had to start and exactly what time I had to finish. There was no going over that. They were all cool about it, but it's like, this is what.
Yeah, that's just
another level.
It down. I mean, as you said, they're strict and well-oiled machine, and it's all about precision and all about being disciplined and all that kind of stuff. So, what do you think was like? Okay, so you've toured a fair bit now. You've had lots of different experiences as far as all your touring is concerned around the world. So now that you've seen directly, firsthand, what a more, should we say, maybe not elite, but certainly a much, much higher caliber style of, touring and road managing and all that kind of stuff is concerned. So what did you get from it? Is there anything that you picked up watching? Because I always find if you work with people that are at a higher level than you,
absolutely,
invariably you'll find. So what were your takeaways, if any, from that you feel that that's something that you're going to be able to implement to do better with what you do?
It's another level of passion and precision. Like, they all love to be there. Not just the 3 original members, but there's about 7 of them on stage, 4 session guys, drummer, bass player, keys player, and a sax player that tour with them full time. And they all love it. But the precision and they all know what everyone's doing. There's this incredible synergy with a band like that. Like, they've been doing it that long and they do it that often, and it's just a whole, for me, it was a whole new level of those 2 things. They're all super fucking passionate about it, but the precision, and they're so on it. Like,
So for you felt like it's going to help you pick up your act a bit more in terms of what. The tightness of what you do, in terms of the passion you bring to it, in terms of how you organise yourself,
improving the show, because I'm always trying to find new and more exciting and more engaging ways to improve the show. I mean, I normally don't play with a whole band behind me. It's normally me solo or me with a drummer. So there's a lot of space to fill, not just sonically but visually. So I sit down a lot of the shows. So I stand up a lot more now. I get up and walk around the stage, like watching the Doobies. Tom Johnson, one of the lead singers, I couldn't believe how much fucking energy that guy had. He was like Mick Jagger. He's running up and down the stage, and he was just, I was like, wow, maybe I should be doing more of that.
Well, I think musicians in general, I think artists could probably get a lot out of that whole health thing. It's just really important. I mean, it's hard because if you're on the road, it's hard to get good options to eat all the time. If you're at airports and stuff like that, you're driving through North buttfuck Queensland, and there isn't much to.
I was up there recently.
Yeah. So, but I think that's really important. Just to, again, I don't think it's even about being a stupidly elite fucking train yourself till you run into the ground kind of guy, but just a consistency, of just being careful what you eat and you sleep and just some kind of regular exercise regime, because it goes a long way.
Absolutely, definitely.
I think so.
Oh yeah, touring is hard work. I won't pull any punches about that. I love it, and I've loved it for a long time, and will continue to love it. But as you get older, I've certainly found I've had to change a lot of lifestyle habits with drinking and partying and all that sort of stuff, because I've, for a long time, been a big drinker. Up until about a year ago, I've slowed it right down now. I just can't do. I'm not 25 anymore. I can't go get blind, rotten, fucking shit-faced drunk every night when I'm on the road. I can't do that. So I rein that in, and often when I tour now, I do a lot of tours where I don't drink at all. I just drink water, because I want to wake up fresh, because I might have a lot of media to do the next day, or I want to try and swim every morning to keep fresh and keep the exercise up and all those sorts of things. It's not very rock and roll, mind you, but but I think the image of your typical touring musician, especially the ones that do it at a high level or do it professionally, is certainly not what it used to be. We're a lot healthier than.
No, I think there's certainly quite a misconception, I think, from the public in terms of how loose especially like when you're talking at a really high level. The people I know, I mean, sure, they can party and whatever, but I think they're just really strict about the time and the place. You know, business is business, and when everything's done, then we can go hard.
Yeah,
you know,
they're good at establishing that separation, because it's work. It's their job, and their job is to provide a party for everybody else.
Yeah,
and that's fun for them as well. But yeah, it's work.
So do you remember? So what kicked off this whole to go full time? Did you have a particular moment where you said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it today," or was it something you built towards and it just kind of happened organically? Or
Yep. So it was a long building process to be able to do it full time and maintain it. So ever since I started when I was about 17 in Adelaide, and then couldn't get much going with my career over there, so I moved over here to live with the old man when I was 19. But from the moment I started, I knew that I wanted to one day be a full-time musician and be able to make a full-time income from my music. And it took, from that point, 12 or 13 years before I actually did it. There were a lot of failed attempts in those 12 or 13 years where I would go full-time for a few months and I'd tour my ass off, and then the gigs would dry up and I couldn't sustain it, so I'd go back to working a day job. I worked day jobs for 15 years of my life, mainly telemarketing and call center work, because it was flexible and I was actually good at selling shit that people didn't really need and that I didn't want to sell, but I could sell it. So I always had a gig doing that stuff, but I ended up hating it, like most of those guys. And then about 5-6 years ago, I got to a point where I'd been doing part-time day job, part-time music for 12, 13 years, and I was like, fuck this, I'm sick of being a part-timer. I've either got to go full-time on this music stuff and really make it work and take it to the next level, or let it go and just do it for fun and do it casually on the weekends. And the idea of doing that scared me a lot more than doing it full-time. So I just said, fuck it. I quit the job, and this is back in 2012, and I haven't had a day job since then. And back then I was doing 70, 80 gigs a year, making a part-time wage. So I had to turn that into a full-time wage and do 120, 130 gigs a year. So within a year or two, I was able to achieve that and have maintained that ever since. And last year I did 132 gigs. It was the best year I've ever had.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, I think that's the hardest part for anyone who wants to say, they'll say, right, you know, I want to make a full-time career out of this. And so much fear holds people back because, they kind of know intellectually it's going to be hard, and they've heard from other people. And no, it's definitely going to be hard.
One thing that plagues, and I'm very passionate about this exact topic. Unfortunately, there's so many, for lack of a better term, fake experts, shall we call them. People that have their best interests for their kid at heart. I'm talking mainly parents, friends, co-workers at their day job, that sit there and say stupid fucking shit like, oh, don't do music, there's no money in music. And to that I say, well, have you worked in the music industry? Do you know how it works? No, there's just no money in it. So how can you be so fucking ignorant? You know, that's fucked. And there's a lot of that going on. And kids are listening to it, and that's the problem. Like, it's so possible to make this work if you want it badly enough. Don't listen to people who don't... Yes, they have your best interests at heart. They want to see that you succeed in whatever that you do. And it's natural for parents and friends and co-workers, they don't want to see you struggle. and they think music, oh, that's a life of struggle. So they judge it and say, oh, don't do music, there's no money in that.
But the 9 to 5 is fucking struggle anyway. So,
Exactly.
So if you're going to struggle, my philosophy is you may as well struggle doing
Something that you love. Yeah.
Doing something you do. And,
Absolutely.
And the sooner you can, if you're dead set serious about it, the sooner you get onto the better. I'll give you a case in point. Two lovely ladies, Alana Wilkinson and Tando, who.
I know Alana. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Alana, if you're listening.
And my beautiful little sister Tando, gorgeous girl she is. You know, she made the she's 23 and she just last year just made a decision as to Alana said, well, I'm going to go out and do full time. And
that's great.
And you know she had a bit of a struggle, but we all do, mate. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think I know of any artist who's doing a full-time gig at any level that isn't going to go through some kind of shit, some kind of self-doubt, some kind of failure, some kind of fuck up. It's just part and parcel of the journey. It's the hardest thing is, so the two hardest things in life are not quitting, are getting started and not quitting.
Yeah,
and for most people, it's just to take the pressure. A lot of pressure goes off once they sort of make the decision to say, right, I'm doing it, and they fucking do it. So, you know, when I get asked by kids who'll say, well, what do you think, or should I? And I just say, what do you think I'd say? Like, what do you think I'd fucking say?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they say advice is confirmation to the answer you already know.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think you'll just find a way if you're that you got that much of a heart on for it, Mike Elrington, you'll make it work.
Yeah, exactly right. You have to. People say, "Oh, how do you make a living out of it? How do you do this properly?" You have to take it further than wanting it. You have to fucking well need it, and you have to also remove safety nets. I'm a big believer in those because people say, "Well, what are you going to do if music doesn't work out? What's your plan B?" And like, if you really want plan A to work, why the fuck would you be thinking about plan B all the time? Like, I mean, don't think about that. Make it work. Make it your only option. And then you've got to make it work.
Yeah. You know, I think also, like, no plan B, but I also believe there's, like, the way, for example, the way I did my thing was, you know, like everyone, part-time jobs. Well,
sure, it takes time.
But I think so long as you always got the intention that that's where you're heading and that's where you're going to go.
Exactly.
You got to make a living. You got to be pragmatic about it. But I think where a lot of people, the mistake they make is like it's either or. So it's either going to be that or the other. I can't do both.
Yeah.
In fact,
and you can do both.
You can do both. I mean, well, you use one to leverage into the other, and then over time, as you have less reliance on your part-time work, as you build up more of the other thing, you get to that point of critical mass. So for me, it was a 21-year journey to get.
It takes time. Right. I totally understand.
You know, and you know, some people it takes less time. You know, but I guess in my case, it was just high ticket items to buy and equipment, and you know, and building at the level I did. But nonetheless, you're still going to have to strap yourself in for a decent 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. Well, some people can do it in quicker time than that. Depends on the individual, really. But for those that do, and I know most aspiring artists and musicians out there do have a day job or part-time job. There's nothing wrong with that. I get that, and I had them for years. So did you. We all do. But one thing I think is important to think about, if you do want to do music full-time and as a career, you have to. And if you do really want that, and you are working another job, have a good think about an exit strategy. And give it a timeline, like 6 to 12 months of. So say if you're working full time now, why don't you put a plan together so that in 6 months you're working 20 hours a week at that job instead of 40, and you've still got some money coming in, but you've given yourself 20 extra hours in that week to devote to your music. And it's a lot of this is about putting time and focus into your music, because you will need to do that to give it any chance of all of making a living for yourself. So it's relinquishing that time from something that you don't want to do, putting it into something you do want to do, and you're probably going to end up a lot better at what the thing is that you're passionate about because you're devoting time to it. But having that extra exit strategy, 6 to 12 months, okay, so within a year, I'd like to be in a position where I'm doing music full time. What do I have to do in the next 12 months, and what's the gradual step-by-step process to achieve that situation?
Yeah. Yes, mate. It saddens me sometimes when you come across, when I come across kids who before they even start, they're just so full. I mean, I can understand it's daunting. It's very fucking
It
daunting.
is, yeah.
'Cause
And yep.
we're creatures who are conditioned for comfort. We're addicted to certainty. We you know, and yet those who are prepared to embrace more uncertainty in their life, or just
Yeah.
or understand that there is no certainty, and that
Yeah.
and the uncertain times don't remain forever. Because historically, when you look back on your life, right, how many times have you been through the shit that seemingly seemed like, oh, this is going to be the end, this is going to fuck me over, but in fact,
Yeah.
nothing like that ever happened.
No,
Nowhere
that's
near as
right.
bad as you
Yeah.
anticipated.
And the shit doesn't go away,
No.
but how you think about it can change. It's
Yeah.
all how you let these situations affect your state of mind, state of being. Obviously, when I was younger, a lot of things would affect me in a much more negative and adverse way than what they do now. I've just learned how to deal with them better. And one thing that always used to really affect me a lot was the lack of frequency in income from playing music, because one month you could go on the road and make thousands of dollars, and then the next month there's nothing. And that used to really fucking bug me, because I'd go on the road and have a good month, and then that month would finish, and because I hadn't booked enough gigs for the next month, they dry up, and then it's like, fuck, why can't it be like this every month? So training myself and preparing myself mentally to deal with that, and keeping the consistency of gigs and tours.
So what do you think? So how do you better handle it now? Like, for example, when things come your way that aren't that great, what's your mental process around it now?
Well, when I was younger, I was a much angrier man and a lot more arrogant. I was an asshole for a lot of my younger years.
You're a little cunt. That's what
I
you
was a
were.
little cunt.
You're a little cunt.
Now I'm a big friendly
Lovable,
cunt.
but
Yeah.
still, yeah.
So Stephen asks, Mike, transition from band to solo, why this change? Any advice on original bands to push through?
Why the change from band to solo? I got to the point where there's a few reasons for that. The main one being was I felt I wasn't going where I wanted to go as an electric guitar player. I felt I was just doing a lot of the same stuff, and I was very frustrated. And I loved the acoustic, and I felt like I had more of a chance to find an original voice as an acoustic player, as an electric player. That really was it was a musical reason, and of course there's also costs, economic reasons. Doing the band thing, I had a great three-piece band situation for around 10 years. We toured America and toured Australia and did a lot of great stuff, but in the end they wanted something different to what I wanted out of it, and I just couldn't get that chemistry right where everyone was on the same page wanting the same thing out of it. So I thought I could better achieve what I wanted to out of my music doing solo stuff as opposed to band stuff. Hope that answers the...
And do you have any advice on original bands to push through?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, remember that. Push through in the business as a career. Well, the thing is, the most valuable thing for any band or artist out there is an audience. Like, a lot of bands and artists go to the industry for support, but I think it pays to look at the industry as one gigantic fucking middleman, because that's what they are. I'm not saying ignore them; that they have a place, definitely. But the most important thing for original bands and artists to go, you've got to build an audience. You've got to engage and build a community of value around what you do. That doesn't mean to say you've got to get 1 million or 2 million fucking Facebook likes and YouTube views in the next 6 weeks. Aim try and get 50 or 100, but build connections of inspiration with your audience, and slowly build on that, and hopefully those fans that you pick up along the way, one person here, one person there, they'll tell others, and the more and more of that you do, the better it looks, the better chances you'll have of breaking through. And knowing what you want. I could go on
Keep going.
for a long time, because it's
just fucking riff, dude. Riff away.
It's a big question that I could spend hours on. But a big thing with breaking through, know what you want out of your career, and have specifics on that. Have a really good sense of visibility on what you want. So, okay, if you want to do it full time, know how much you got to earn out of it. on a year basis, on a month basis, how many gigs you have to do each month to do that, and know the things that you have to be doing each week, each day, each month to achieve those goals, and have strict enforcement of those targets and goals that you set for your career each and every month, and know where you want to go. A big problem with a lot of us creatives, and I've had it myself too, is
Well, I think for a lot of
we don't know.
artistic creators also is that they're not necessarily people that have a lot of business acumen. They're great
That's
at
right,
creating, they're
yeah.
great at being artists, and
Yeah.
that's why I guess there's managers and whatnot. But I still think that as an artist, it pays for you to get your head around at least some
Absolutely.
basic business mechanics. So again, it's about just keeping track of, you know, what's coming in, what's going out. Because
I heard a term last year. It was a term I wish I had created myself, but I didn't. I read it in a book somewhere or online. The term artistpreneur.
Yep.
So combining the words artist and entrepreneur. Entrepreneur being someone who starts a business, runs a business, and takes an idea to a market and makes money out of it. And that's what we're all trying to do as musicians, right? And an artistpreneur combines those two things. So it's the creative side, writing songs, making records, playing live shows, the fun stuff, and the entrepreneurial side, wrapping a business around those ideas and finding a market for it. And we have to do both of those things, guys. And I don't, there's this big reluctance by creative people out there, especially musicians, to say, oh, I hate business, fuck the business, I'm not here to make money and all that stuff. Well, we've all got to pay our bills. So I think it's finding a healthy balance between your creative pursuits and your commercial pursuits, and trying to find a happy medium. It's fucking hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to do it full time and make a career out of it, that's what you have to do. And relinquish this, and this is a problem that I used to have a lot, living in delusional fucking hope that one day you'll meet the magical manager, one day you'll get the great record deal, and one day some mysterious, magical, wonderful cunt will just fall out of the sky and make your career happen. That's never going to happen. You have to be that guy. And the more and more you take on that responsibility and ownership of that responsibility, the more and more attractive you'll become to the industry, and they'll want to help you.
I think that's a good point you make, because I think so many people think about, well, when this happens and when I get that, and that when will never fucking happen.
That's right.
Because that's completely just you giving your power away to external forces. Whereas the irony is when you start taking that personal responsibility, you start putting in the work, you start taking control over it, then, like I said, you become more attractive, and then who do people want to connect with? They want to connect with people that are
doing stuff for themselves already.
Absolutely, you can only help a person that's helping themselves. So people who they want to be with, people that are that they see that, you know, they're connected themselves, they're grounded, they got their confidence on,
exactly.
They're doing it.
And if you look at managers and record labels and booking agents these days, especially the bigger ones, it's a harder game for them as well as what it used to be. There's less money around where it used to be. The record industry's pretty much deteriorated, and now we're trying to figure out where the new value is, and that's another thing we could talk about for hours. But they want to work with artists who can do a lot, who can achieve a lot on their own first, before it's all sort of, for lack of a better term, about mergers and acquisitions now. It's very rare for them, any reputable manager, recording company that's going to invest money into an artist or a band, it's very rare for them to just go and pick some random guy or girl off the street who's not touring, who's not on radio, who's not out there playing live regularly, who doesn't already have an existing audience online and offline. It's very rare for them to sign anyone like that. These days, they want to see you do the work yourself. Because when they see that, and it's not just what they think of your music and the potential of your music, it's about attitude and work ethic. Because they go, well, okay, he's touring his ass off, or she's touring her ass off, and she's doing 100 gigs a year, she's playing this festival here, that festival there. Great, she's got the work ethic, and she's doing it. So we can jump on board, and we can add value to what he or she is already doing, and grow that pie a bit bigger. And that's what they want to work with.
Yeah, I don't blame them. It's the same what I do, mate. I can't mentor kids that haven't shown and demonstrated to me that they've actually gone off their ass, done the work, have shown that initiative and drive to do whatever. And you know, without that, you can't drag people up, Mike Elrington. You just can't fucking do it.
No,
it's very tiring anyway. You can't. I just won't. Speaking of which, I was really impressed with your initiative from last year, where you started offering yourself as a mentor to young aspiring artists.
Yep.
Great passion of mine, as you know.
Yep.
So how did that come about for you? And can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how it works, in case there's anyone else out there that could be interested in, maybe
Booking a session, sure.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I've been wanting to give back to the industry, and be of service, be of help to others that I want to help. And there's no greater group of people in this industry that I want to help than other artists and musicians that want to do this for a living and do it full time, because it's a great place to be, very rewarding being able to do that. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, and earlier this year I decided, right, I'm finally going to get off my ass and take some action on this, and I decided I'm going to do weekly mentoring phone consultations with people, where I call them, so they're not paying for the phone call, I pay for that, and we talk about their career, their music, where they want to go with it, what their goals are, how I think they can achieve their goals and so forth. And I don't get paid for that. The only condition is that they make a donation of their choice to Support Act, who, for those who don't know, are the, I believe they're the main or the biggest music industry charity in Australia.
Yep.
And they rely on donations. So people I do these consultations with make a donation of their choice, and it's up to them. I've had people donate $10, I've had people donate 100. It's whatever they can afford.
Yeah. No.
Question?
Dear Stanley, do you recommend playing shows for free or agreeing to it? Or say, look, I don't need to be paid in so-called exposure, I need default payment per show. Cheers.
Look, yeah.
That's an interesting topic.
That's a great question.
I got-
Who was that, sorry?
DS Stanley.
DS Stanley, thank you for your question. Look, I don't think anyone should play for free, to be honest. I believe we should all get paid. But in saying that, obviously when people start out and they just really need that experience, well, yeah, you're going to probably do a few shows for free. There's mainly two types of deals that you get with gigs. There's the door deal, or a percentage of a door deal, or there's a flat fee where you negotiate a fee, $100, $200, $500, $1,000 with the venue to play for a certain amount of time. If you're going to do free gigs, I think you should always be aware of how you can get paid. Not saying you will, but if you're going to do one of the, and a lot of startup bands are out doing those sort of 4 or 5 band a night type deals where it's a $10 door and 50 people come and bands have got to split $10 between all of them, and it's pretty fucking atrocious. And all right, that's how we start. Fine. I'm not saying don't do that, but always go into a gig with an idea of where the money can come from and potentially how much you can earn, because there's only so long that you can do this as a charity and get paid nothing, or get paid fucking $8 a gig.
I'm still astounded as to how many experienced musicians still to this day will just do the shit for free, because
it's sad.
It's the fear of, well, if I don't do it, somebody else will. But when I've always said, when people will value you the way you value yourself.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean you've got to be a cocky little cunt or arrogant or outprice yourself. You've got to work within a certain reality. But again, it's like no one wants to be sold to, but people love to buy. So when you can demonstrate the value of what you do, and I think that's where maybe some artists, again, it's a self-confidence thing, man. Everything is just fucking comes down to mindset. When you don't really believe in yourself, I mean, your head and mouth are saying one thing, but your heart's saying something else.
Yeah.
People pick up on that, so they know. So there are a lot of shonky operators and people that just want to be profitable. And yeah, sure, there's maybe bands are a dime a dozen, but just because there might be 100 rock bands, your band is a unique expression of rock.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It may be, as I said, another 99 doing rock, but it's not your type of thing. And a lot of people won't back themselves, I think, especially creatively or artistically, because again, we're looking for outside. Who else is cool with the kids? What is Triple J playing? And so people are not necessarily wanting to become carbon copies or derivatives, but nonetheless, they won't look at what they have and go, well, hang on a minute, maybe we might have the next thing. Maybe we could be trendsetters. And all the bands who have ever busted through just
They
completely
stood out.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they believe themselves. I mean, I was watching
Totally.
this interesting doco about how grunge came, how grunge came through after the '80s, and look, I mean, a band like Nirvana,
Yeah.
were, I mean, what were they? They're just a bunch of fucking kids who are just fucking doing their thing. In fact, going against the establishment, if anything, completely against the establishment.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they got picked up, and the rest is
Away they
history.
went.
But if they didn't have that belief in themselves and really, Foo Fighters, another fucking great example. There's plenty of bands, we could come up with who just believed in themselves and just stuck with it. And they say, 10 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yep. And musically and creatively, it's so important to stay true to yourself and follow your heart and soul with what you're inspired by.
Absolutely.
Play the music that you want to fucking play. Because we've all got our ears on Triple J and what the trends are and all that, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's bad to do that. It's cool to be aware of what the market is doing, sure, but I don't think it's a wise thing to let it influence you too much in the music that you make, because as you often say on this topic, and I've seen some great video rants about this, especially that Triple J one. It's a moving fucking target anyway, so I think you're wasting your time if you try and climb that kind of rope and adapt and let that moving target that you probably might never end up hitting affect the way that you make music. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's healthy. I think you've got to make the music that's true to yourself, true to your heart, your soul, and your mind. Always make the music you want to make.
That's what people want too. I think people are looking for that. They
are. That's what breaks through.
They want honesty. They want authenticity. And unless your heart and mind are connected in what you're doing, that comes through. You may think you're bullshitting the bullshitters, but you can't bullshit a bullshitter, Mike Elrington.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, look at Tash Sultana right now.
Yeah, look at her.
She's fucking smashing it.
Totally.
And I get it. And she's true to herself. Whether you like her music or whether you don't, you got to when someone blows up like she is doing right now, the wise thing to do, whether you like her music or not, and this is what I do a lot more of these days than what I used to. But I always go, okay, what's the appeal? Why is this happening? It doesn't just happen because of luck. Like, she's resonating with so many fucking people because she's real.
She's honest, dude. Again,
she gets it. She plays her ass off and she fucking owns it when she's up there.
Yeah.
And that's people.
When she performs, you feel it, but also because she's so open and honest about her own story. And,
absolutely.
And again, I think more and more people want that, mate. Like some people are afraid to open up, shall we say, or share stuff. But the reality is that so many of us, of those kind of things that people may talk about, we all share in common. And that was something I just realised again as a late bloomer with what I'm doing. I said, I know that I can open up about my stuff, knowing that there are people out there that can relate. And more so than you probably imagine.
Because they've probably gone through it themselves.
And everyone feels like they're a fucking island unto themselves. Whether it comes to mental illness issues, when it comes to self-worth issues. I mean, this is why this whole self-esteem thing for me has just been such a huge fucking cornerstone of what I do, because everything comes down to mindset. And until you can start taking better control over your thinking and your emotional responses and how you respond and frame things and all that kind of shit, then understand that it all comes from yourself. Again, we're talking about the external factor. Everyone's looking for the external factor. Everyone's looking for the reaction in the outside world to determine how they're going to bring their thought, which in fact brings more of the same.
Yeah.
When
exactly.
You understand that it all starts within your own head first, and that you direct it. And just because things don't happen instantaneously in the physical world as we know it, it doesn't mean it's not working. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just people don't allow enough time to just let that intention go out there and just allow the machinations of life to do what it needs to do.
Yeah. I heard a great quote. I love quotes and metaphors and all that, so I'm always scouring the internet from various writers of great quotes throughout history. I love a lot of the older ones because they ring true so much these days. One I heard recently was focus on the process, not the result.
Yeah.
And I think that's really representative of what you're saying there, because we get so, and musicians and artists do that, we get so hung up on results like, oh, will Triple J play our stuff or won't they? Oh, will the local radio play us? Will the local venue book us or not? All of these results, which, they're definitely important. We get so hung up on...
But we can't... The thing is not to attribute your self-worth to the outcome.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so
Totally.
yeah, I mean, we know it's a bit of a lottery, this caper. So
Yeah.
you're gonna put music out there. Yeah, and even I said, if you get on Triple J, fucking God bless you, fucking awesome. I mean, it's not gonna hurt, but by the same token,
But even if you do, there's no guarantee of
that's true too. I mean,
anything
so
more. Plenty of acts
you-
get Triple J, high rotation Triple J, and it doesn't lead anywhere. It looks great on a resume, or on a Facebook
promo
post.
shit or whatever. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
go for it. But
yeah.
but don't look at those things as, okay, if we get Triple J, we're set, because a lot of acts get Triple J and doesn't do shit for them.
No.
They play a lot of new stuff. It doesn't all break through like some do.
Yeah, agreed. You know, again, it's a matter of. I think it's important to see the other bands that are doing. I mean, obviously, say Triple J or radio, commercial radio in general, the amount of opportunity and openings to be played, even on a spot play, you know, is really really small. So
Oh yeah, definitely with
that
commercial.
Shit,
yeah.
that shit you can just consider as a bonus. So again, you've got to think about, well, what other opportunities are there? Let's look at what other bands are doing and artists are doing. See
Yeah.
how they're making it work. See what their strategies are. And again, take a leaf out of someone else's book and see how it may apply
Yeah.
to your situation.
Well, the first step for any band or artist out there that wants to get played on radio, especially the bigger stations, they probably shouldn't be looking at the bigger stations or Triple J first. Look at the community stations.
Totally.
Your PBSs, your Triple Rs. There's heaps of them in Melbourne. They're all over the country.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how big an audience some of those stations and some of those presenters have.
Well, no doubt. I mean, because I think people, again, they're sick of the standard schlock that gets slopped out to them. And so there are lots of people who actually are quite discerning, are looking for alternatives, looking for different outlets. And so
Totally.
You're right. You can't discount community radio just because it may, be broadcasting from a caravan in, South Buttfuck, South Australia, as opposed to North Buttfuck, Queensland.
Yeah.
There's a lot of buttfucks in Australia, isn't there?
There's plenty of buttfucks.
You've been a lot of buttfucks.
Been a lot of them.
The buttfuck tour. You should do the buttfuck
That's
tour.
the buttfuck tour.
Yeah, just every town will be buttfuck. Yeah, there's plenty of it. But no, I think that when artists can just, again, as you said before, just be true to themselves, do their own thing, not be afraid of what may or may not happen, and carve their own path and have confidence in themselves.
Exactly. Enjoy the journey, guys.
And it is. I mean, cliche as it is, it's so true. I mean, that to me is the making it. Once you make a decision that, I'm an artist, from that moment, congratulations, you have graduated, motherfucker, and you are now an artist.
Yeah.
And then it's important then to be able to identify that way too, because one of the great lessons in my life was the power of identity. Of who the fuck are you?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah.
In your day to day, what's the thing that gets you out of bed? What's the thing that is always on? This is not a hat you wear when it's
not
convenient.
a mask. It's
who
you
there.
are.
It's there.
And it's a confronting question for most of us.
I mean, we all are the I am. We're everything. But I think everyone, if you ask anyone what would be their identity statement, most people would fucking look at you like, huh? What do you mean? What does that mean? But until you have a clear sense of who you are and what you're about, and you can say it with conviction and knowing, and so when you tell people this is what you are, they just straight away, it's like, yep.
They gravitate
no
towards
doubt
it.
about it.
Yeah.
And therefore you start thinking along those lines. It's same thing like with, I was talking to, had someone the other day who wanted to talk about this whole weight release thing, and I said, mate, you will never fucking be able to take your weight off fully. Because one thing that changed in my world was how I identified within myself in terms of my physicality.
Yep.
So until you start thinking like I'm a fit, vibrant person, I'm a healthy person, and you take that on as a knowing, then you're not, because when you do, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, if I am, therefore, how am I going to eat? How am I going to train? How am I going to live my life day to day? Who are the people I'm going to be hanging out with? What will I be? You with me?
Yeah.
Instilling those, and identity, man. But people, I think, for a lot of time anyway, they don't have that sense of who they really are.
Yeah.
They probably they probably internally have an idea, but again, because they don't feel they're good enough or worthy enough, or whatever they've been told and conditioned to believe, that it's hard for them intellectually to grab it. They want it, but it's like they won't give themselves permission.
Yeah.
waiting on everyone else to kind of say, look, it's cool, you can do this, Mikey. It was like, no, fuck you. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's establishing those, and when you can do that, you can put in place measures and plans of actions to establish permanent change. Look, if you want to lose weight, you can't keep living the same way and eating the same way you have been, and it's just expected to fucking happen. If you want to make a living out of playing music, you can't just keep doing the same gigs and hanging out with the same people as what you've always done that has given you the result that you don't want. You've got to be willing to change, make some really strict permanent changes. And I had to do that. I changed a lot of people that I was hanging out with, probably lost a few friends along the way, so forth. But that's just how it goes sometimes. We're all victims of our environment, no matter what we do.
Yeah. And it's interesting, that whole peer group thing, because when I was looking at the people I was hanging out with, and I was really quite surprised when I looked at it objectively, how some of these friendships I had, and these are really nice people, right? They're nice people.
Of course, they all are.
But when I think about how much I allowed myself to let them hold me back, and so it's like, okay. Yeah, and like you, I mean, there was some friendships of people I've had for 8-10 years and it wasn't a case of, listen, fuck you, I'm out of here, but it was just a case of, you know what, I think right now, I just need to
go over here for spend less time,
a little while. And some people, I mean, look, some of these people I haven't seen, forever. I mean, and some I still do see, and I still also g'day and give them a hug and whatnot, but again, you got to make the decision to sort of say,
Exactly, and we can relate this in a big way to artists and musicians out there that want to take that next step in their career and make a living out of it, and go on the road and sell a few records and go and tour overseas, or do all those sorts of things. Pay it if you find yourself in a position where you want all of those things but they just aren't happening. Have a good look, like you did and I did, and a lot of us have done. Look at those people objectively, step outside of how you normally see them and go, all right, and especially if they're being negative and telling you that music isn't a viable career and all that sort of stuff, you have to go, well, sorry, I don't want to spend that much time around you that more. You want to associate with the way I've always done it and still do it is I find the people who are doing what I want to be doing and I hang out with them. And I learn so much from that. I find you can learn so much more from that than what you would doing a course or reading books. I mean, all that stuff is great.
Yeah, don't get me started on that shit. Yeah.
And that's how I did it with there's musicians out there, guys like Lloyd Spiegel, Jeff Lang, Jeff Atchison. I could go on and on that have been doing it a lot longer than I have, done a lot more in their careers so far than I have. But when I was playing music casually and part-time and I wanted to go full-time, I wanted to tour, I would hang out with them. I'd sometimes take them out to lunch or take them out to dinner and pick their brains and say, how do I do this? How do I constantly ask questions? Never be afraid to ask people questions.
There's no such thing as a stupid question.
That's exactly right.
And again, I think, for a kid who may look up to someone and just know them simply by reputation, it could seem really daunting. And I think,
of course, it is.
But kids, you'd be surprised when, in my experience, most people that are pros are usually really cool motherfuckers, and they remember what it was like to be starting out.
That kid.
And guys like yourself, myself, we were all, for me, what drives me to do this thing is the memory of the fact that I had amazing mentors as a kid from people that didn't know me from a bar of shit, but still took enough care.
They saw something in you and they wanted to help.
And I always said, well, one day when I get to a position, and I'll do the same. And I'm really glad I'm carrying that through now, because it's so important to
return the love.
But here's the thing that's interesting, Mike Elrington, and I wouldn't be surprised if you probably have the same experience, and that is when you go off and you do your passion, or in particular, if we're talking about mentoring in particular, I find that, I actually get I sometimes feel I'm getting a bigger kick out of it by, than what these kids think they're getting. I mean, they'll say, well, I'm getting, and that's beautiful. But what I get out of it to see kids. I mean, I've got 5 mentees on the go right now. I mean, I mentor a lot of kids, man. I mean, I'll just mentor anyone that's going to question. I'll always do my best to help.
Are they mainly people that want to work in the music business?
Yeah. They're I mean, my 5 main. Shout out to Simone Spittle.
Hey, Simone.
To Jazz Milburn, to Mike Wind in Holland, to Spike Levy, and Ben Maverick Ferguson, badass motherfucker. So
Could you remember their names?
Well, yeah, they're my fucking kids, mate. They're extension of my family. You know,
of course.
You know, I give 3 shits and fucks about all of them.
Yeah.
You know, but again, these are kids who just that you know. When I put the word out last year, we had 678.
Wow.
People,
yeah, I remember when you did
now,
that.
Most of them were just not even.
Not right.
So look, most of them weren't even worth even going past. You know, when you get mums applying on behalf of their son.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, okay, you've just they missed the point. But anyway, these kids though were able to demonstrate to me just their own initiative, their own drive, their own ambition. They were able to tell me what they wanted to do, they were at, and so it's like it just makes it so much easier. So and they listen, and they don't necessarily have to do everything that you tell them. I mean, as I say to these kids, all I'm doing is holding up the mirror to reflect back how fucking awesome you are. That's it.
Yeah.
And once you can see that and take it on board and run with it, you'll be okay. Because you already know what to do. You pretty much know what to do. It's just that someone here just to sort of speak back to you what you're saying. Maybe in a way to help you better understand things, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And again, not about telling them anything or not about imposing any point of view. It's just, listening. Again, what do? You just share your experience, right? You just, from your subjective view of reality.
Yep.
But it's worked for you. And there might be something there that someone hadn't considered previously.
Sure.
But getting back to the point of, I get such a kick out of watching, getting a call, having a session with a kid, going through an issue, and then saying, "Guess what? Fucking, I did what you told me to say," and
it's a breakthrough.
And that's that to me is that's what that I can almost jizz when that happens.
That's a proud question. I just want to hear, because I love hearing your views on tertiary education with the arts, but I'd like to hear from Mike as well.
Tertiary education. Okay. Fundamentally speaking, I don't really have a problem with tertiary education per se. I think that there's, if you look at it in the context of audio education, when I was a kid, it just didn't exist. There was no schools, there was no courses, there was no anything. I mean, no one even
learn it yourself.
And what a sound engineer, really was. It was just completely out of the public eye. Career Advisor School had no fucking idea what it was about. So I welcome the idea that nowadays, of course we've got YouTube and tutorials and whatever. I welcome the fact that there are some schools that are set up to help kids, get some basic 101 knowledge and skills. I think for me, it's when it gets down into your balls deep diploma courses where and for the money that's being invested by a lot of these kids.
Yeah.
So I really do question sometimes, what's the value, but I think they just go there because they don't think there's any other option, or because they feel like, well, if I have some kids will approach me and say, well, I've got this fucking diploma degree from, whatever audio school, but fuck, Northern Territory, right?
Yep.
And frankly, I don't give a fuck about your diploma.
Yeah.
Because you're a self, because you just feel like you're an entitled little cunt. The way you approach me. So where I think some of the courses are lacking, and I remember I was on an advisory committee for one of the fucking schools, which I won't mention, and I was talking about this stuff that weren't being addressed. Things like, what are you talking about the kids' mindset? How do you talk to these kids about getting out there into the real world? How do you set them up? Because
how do they get work?
How to hustle, how to become self-sufficient. The thing is, I think this is school in general, mate. There's a lot that's being taught in school that doesn't get applied in the real world, and then these kids get out in the real world and they just realise that, oh shit,
we haven't learned any of that.
80% of the stuff I've been studying for and learning for. Yes, okay, theory. I've done this theory, things have to apply, but again, I just see it, man. I get so many fucking kids who say, I want work experience, and and they're clueless when it comes to communicating. They're clueless when it comes to
Selling themselves.
yeah, and just understanding that, mate, this is all about fucking the relationship economy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, and just having this shit you can't teach. I mean, there's this young kid who's hanging out with my studio right now, Tom Beard. Shout out to Tom Beard, fucking badass motherfucker, right? So Tom has somehow weaseled his way into the studio as just hanging out and assisting, you know, because he's fucking he
And
reads.
what did he do to get there? What was it about him that stood out with you?
Well, first of all, he persisted. He just kept on top of me.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was persistent. Even when I said, "Listen, sorry, dude, you know, thanks, but right now."
Did he ever get annoyingly persistent? Like
No. He was he was always
sometimes that works.
Yeah, no. He was always respectful.
Yeah.
But again, when he came in, he had this thing of just like he just instinctively knew when to speak, when to shut up, when to ask questions. He wasn't afraid to ask questions. He wasn't trying to be, you know, again, people want to come in the studio and say, oh, look, I've done this, and I've done that, and I've done that.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd rather know someone who knows fuck all, right?
Yeah.
Than someone who already has the preconceived notion of knowing it all. So,
Yeah.
so Tom was very humble in that respect. But he also was cool with clients. You know, he was talking to the clients and
Likeable.
he would think, and he'd just think the next step, like, oh, these guys might look like I need a cup of tea, you know? Not
Yeah.
wait for me to say,
Yeah.
you know, like, hey, guys, would like a cup of tea, or, you know, and he just was a good energy around the place.
Yeah.
And had initiative and he was creative, which, mate, you know, books will not fucking teach
Teach
you
you
how
that.
to
Yeah,
do
that's a
that.
personal thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
But also, it was taking a risk. You know, I mean, I'll tell you a great story about taking a risk, right? My boy Andre Ehrman, who when he first started along, he just came and hung out, and I really liked the kid, and I wanted to help him as much as I could. And I said, you know, look, I'll show you how it's all done. And this was Melbourne Cup Day about 5 years ago. When it was a day where I finally was going to sit down, we're going to go through it step by step. I said, look, I've got to go to this Melbourne Cup barbecue. I'll be back in an hour. You just hang out and listen to music or whatever. And he sends a text on there and says, I've got a surprise for you. You come back. All right. So I go back and he sits me down. He said, look, I want you to listen to something. So he took it upon himself to fucking get in the gear and work it all out.
Yeah.
You know, where some people say, oh shit, I better not touch anything in case it explodes. But that's the thing. You got to be prepared to put your balls on the line. Because,
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
some people might say, fuck, what are you doing? Fuck off.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But he did it and it made
But
it work.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that
That's great.
he had that much gumption that, you know, he was going to go out there, he was going to fucking nut it out. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's not enough of that stuff that you just mentioned there in the last 5 minutes being taught or being addressed at these courses. Like, and
I don't know how you teach that shit, though, man.
well, you make people aware of it, and you get people like. It's not an easy one to teach, but if you attempt it and you bring it up and you make people aware of it and you bring in real life examples like dudes like you that are out there in the field doing it and they've been doing it for a long time, and the more and more that people like yourself, ourselves, can explain this to those kids in those courses, I think that's going to help. So many of those courses, I see it, a lot of the music courses around, most of those kids end up either, there's one or two things that generally happen. They end up becoming music teachers, or they end up doing something, another career that's completely unrelated to music. And I think that's fucked because, well, you went and did that course because you wanted to be a professional musician and you wanted to write songs, make records, play shows, go on the road, all that. But you've gone and done it. And sure, you might go and do that, spend thousands of dollars, and at the end of it, know fucking every major scale known to man, know every circle of fifths, and know every fucking major scale and minor inversion on the fourth and the fifth and a harmonic 13th, whatever. But can you book a tour? Can you book a gig? Can you get someone to a gig that's not your girlfriend or not your boyfriend or not your family? Can you get a fan, someone to engage with your music? I mean, teach that.
And you know how to deal. You just know how to deal with people. How
Yeah,
you fucking
people skills.
Just how you deal with people in your day to day. You know, Rick Essig, who was my mentor when I was you know, he's the guy that taught me how to cut vinyl, and you know, and he said to me day one, he said, 80% of this job is bullshit. Yeah. So, which at the time I didn't quite get, but he went on to explain that the bullshit is dealing with clients, serving your customers, making sure that everything's fucking taken care of, that you're invested in the record. They knowing that you give a shit
You
fuck
care.
about what's going on.
I like how you put it, and you use the words relationship economy, and that's fucking bang on, man. I couldn't.
Well,
agree
I
with
got
that
to give
anymore.
credit to Brad Burton for that one, because he was the first guy that brought up that terminology. Now maybe he got it from somewhere else, I don't know, but that's where I first heard it. But it resonated with me, and it's true, man. I mean, this is the economy now of, again, if people don't get to like you and know you and trust you, you could be the greatest fucking engineer, singer, performer in the fucking world.
Yeah.
People at the end of the day have to feel like they want to be with you.
They want to be around you.
And again, if you've got that energy that comes off, that is again self-assured and confident in your own ability,
inspiring,
and valuing yourself, people want that.
Yeah.
That's what people want to be associated with. That's what people want to buy into.
Absolutely.
Because
it's hard to find those things, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to find those things in life, not just in the music business, but in any industry out there. Find those.
But the only way to find it is to find it within yourself first.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Until you're prepared to take it on and take ownership, and that's been a big part of my journey. Is that I just wasn't ever ready, didn't feel I could take ownership of it because of my fear of what are people going to think. What are they going to say? How's this going to come across? All this fear, and then I realized, fucking hell, once I started getting over that shit.
Yeah.
How all of a sudden, like all the things that I feared, in fact,
weren't really.
No, it was just bullshit.
False evidence.
If anything, I think a lot of people are kind of saying, "Oh, hello, welcome. Oh, you've arrived. You're here now, eh?
Yeah.
We can see through all your bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking ever. So, well, good.
Yeah. It's nice when you get to that point, and I know it's a difficult thing to achieve, because when you do, you realise that, well, the things that you worried about and feared about for so long weren't fucking real anyway. So no point worrying about them.
Yeah, well, again, and look,
the worry doesn't make those problems go away.
But like with anything, it's I think a lot of people understand that intellectually, when we talk about it, and I know we may make it sound simplistic, but it does take work, dude. It really does take work on yourself to, because only you can do it. Only you can bring yourself to that point.
Exactly.
And all it really is just, in my experience, just giving yourself permission. You giving yourself permission that it's okay, you can do this, and we're going to give less and less fucks about what people think about us. Because, hey, at the end of the day, man, we're not going to be 100% fucking down with every single person. And that's a game.
Not at all.
That's fucking pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
So you can forget about that. Make yourself happy first. Make yourself happy first. Then you'll find, your crew will find you, and people that'll resonate with you, and you'll probably find there's more love out there for you than you ever imagined.
Yeah, because you attract it, even subconsciously. You don't necessarily know that you are, but when you're feeling right within yourself and you're complete and whole, and you let those fears and inhibitions that you used to have go, it's amazing how that can change the way others see you, because you don't care that much. You care about pleasing yourself. That's the most important. I love your things, your rants that you put up every week. Be nice to each other, but be nice to yourselves. And I think that's so important, because we're so hard on ourselves.
We are, especially
too hard.
As artistic creatives. I think self-esteem in general in the world is it's just an epidemic, and
Absolutely.
And again, it's conditioning. It's no one's fault. It's just it's a program, and then you got the media that doesn't help your cause and whatnot. But again, you talk about self-love to some people, and they almost cringe when you talk about it.
Well, yeah, they think you're being
Especially
arrogant or narcissistic,
or even just fucking too
that.
woo-woo, or too, like it's almost sissy, like especially I'm 6'3", covered in fucking tats, and there I'm talking about this concept of self-love and self-care and self-esteem, and it's just like, and those words coming out of a guy who looks like me, there's just, you know what I mean? It's like, ugh.
Some people feel uncomfortable with that.
But the people that feel uncomfortable, that just tells me more about where they're at, and I can see it more now, because I've been sort of gone through that journey, and it's an ongoing one in terms of self-esteem. But there's a point, though, there is a tipping point where you just have to come to certain kind of acceptances, and that is that there's nothing wrong with you. There's never anything fucking wrong with you. You're perfectly fine the fucking way you are. You are a unique expression of fucking life, unlike anyone else. You are absolutely unique, and you're beautiful within yourself. But until you take the ownership of that, no one else is going to be able to fucking follow you, or will be able to follow you.
Yeah.
Because everyone, see, here's the thing. This is what everyone's looking for, man. They're looking for that. You know, deep down, so many people who feel so shit about themselves, who self-doubt all the time. And yes, we have those moments where we do. But that's the default position, you know. And it comes down to, you know, I'm not enough, you know, not good enough, not
good
worthy
enough.
enough, not
Yeah.
deserving enough, not wealthy enough, not resourceful, whatever fucking not enough you think you are. When you focus on that, when it's like, no, motherfucker, that's not the case at all, you know. But you got to fucking take the ownership of it, Mike Elrington.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a knowing, you know, as a knowing. And so when you're totally at peace with that, then your heart and mind will start working together, as opposed to, you know, people that are really good at doing the talk and trying to convince themselves and other people about what they're trying to do, but their heart's saying, well, no, you're full of shit. And that's what people pick up on. You know, that's subtle.
They see it. They feel it.
They feel it.
Yeah.
They feel it. I mean,
They feel that
you can be
this is not genuine.
the slickest motherfucker on the planet with the most well-rehearsed fucking routine and whatnot. Be charismatic, be fucking flashy, you know, NLP your fucking self to death and every other fucking, you know, trick you could imagine. But, you know, but most people will, after you fucking mesmerize them, they later will kind of go, you know what, there's just something, I can't put my fucking finger on it, but something there. Just
Politicians?
Well, yeah, well, they're the worst case.
A different breed.
But even people, I mean, I think for most, yeah, politicians are,
Yeah, the masters at it.
well, but I don't know. I think now that it's become such a fucking circus, politicians. It's almost like it's embarrassment. It's like, like, really, dude? You know, but for people, though, who are particularly skilled at it, you know, I still think that you, in a quieter moment, there'll be something. And that's all it is. It just requires just an ever so slight fucking chink to fucking occur, and you've lost them.
Yeah.
Done.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to take a piss, do you?
No,
You were worried about that, weren't you?
I was, because I had barely any sleep last night, and I've been having coffee all day to stay awake and on the water. So, but no, all fine. I'm not going to run off on you at any time soon.
So listen, let me. The other thing that people we didn't touch on is that you also are a producer in your own right.
Yeah, I've been getting more into producing. I wouldn't call myself a pro engineer. I work with a great guy called Sean O'Sullivan, also a producer.
Shout out to Sean.
He is an engineer and he has his own studio. But I've been doing more production stuff in the last sort of 3 to 4 years. Had a few artists that I've worked with. Most recently, Joshua Batten.
Joshua Batten. Shout out to Joshua.
Josh. If he's listening in tonight, hopefully, I'm sure he is. Because I love the process and challenge of getting the absolute best out of an artist or a band's music, and being involved in the process of doing that, and being some type of positive influence on them when it comes to recording their music and opening up worlds of possibility that they probably hadn't thought of themselves. Because a lot of the artists that I have worked with haven't recorded before working with myself and Sean. Haven't worked with haven't worked in a pro studio before, haven't had their music recorded professionally before. They've just done little demos at home. So they don't know how good their music can actually sound without sort of the influence of an external producer or an engineer to help them do that. So I love that process.
Yeah, and you did a damn fine job on Joshua's album too, by the way.
It was a lot of fun working
I think
on
Josh
that
still
record.
likes to refer to it as an album, but I don't know. Anyway,
Mini album,
long maxi EP.
long play EP, if that is a word.
If that exists. But no, well, again, you know, you guys should check out fucking Joshua. I mean, he's just a legit as fuck artist.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
great.
He writes incredible. I mean, for a kid of his age, he writes songs that are incredible, like lyrically, just writes beyond his years.
Way beyond his years. Yeah. And I haven't.
But they're honest. But his songs.
Totally honest.
They're honest songs that you like. You think, fuck. How has this kid gone through this? Can he relate to this? But you know, you listen to this kid's songs and you believe it.
Yeah, he's got conviction. Yeah, and that was what drew me to him. And he was a fan of mine. He used to message me about when was my album coming out and all that sort of stuff. And he was really passionate about my music, which is great, and I really appreciate people that do that. And then I stumbled across. He didn't send his music to me or anything like that. He wasn't pushy at all. I saw it on his Facebook page one day, and it was just him playing solo at a gig he was doing in Moorabbin a few years ago. And I thought, fuck, that's the voice and the playing and the song. This is fucking great. And rang him up the next day and asked him what his plans were for recording and if he's planning on making a record, making an album. That's when I said, well, let's do something.
Well, I remember when you first. You got a question?
Yeah, question from Thomas. Mike, if you weren't in the dark arts of music, what other avenue of life would you have taken?
It's a good question, Thomas. As in other career, I imagine.
Gigolo. You'd have to.
Mate, I'd have the best fucking whorehouse in
town. Look
town.
at you, for fuck's sake. You had some smooth fuck.
Biking
Look at
gonna
you.
fuck with me.
Just take a look at you.
No. Look, I have thought about that. Haven't put too much thought into it, but what would I do? I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was younger because I saw Top Gun and I saw Goose and Maverick flying around those fucking F-14s at Mach 2 when I was young. I thought that was cool, but I was never smart enough academically to go and study aviation. I did want to do that when I was younger. Other thing I would enjoy would be, and this may surprise a few people, I would enjoy law. I like arguing, I like debating, I like convincing strangers to believe something.
That was what my destiny was meant to be, you know.
But again, like aviation, I sucked academically, and with law's a very academic field, and I would not have the discipline to go down that academic road. I love arguing, I love debating, and all that sort of stuff. But so I hope that answers your question.
So anyway, so going back to the whole Joshua thing, I never forget that time when you first rang me and told me I'm doing this record. It's this kid I'm producing, and so I knew straight away there was going to be a bit of a. But for me, just the fact that you had invested in this kid for me was enough.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm on, just fucking let's just do it because again I get really excited about young artists and I hadn't heard a note up until this point, but I knew it was going to be great,
Yeah.
And then when I first threw up the songs and the speakers, it's like holy fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I did.
So and I was just so glad that when you gave me the opportunity, and how could I not just do it? I said if it was good enough for Mike to fucking invest himself in it, who am I to say fucking no?
Yeah, I'm like that when it comes to great music or a great song. I don't give a shit what genre it is. It doesn't have to be blues or blues roots. Yes, I'm more involved in that world than I am in other genres, but that doesn't mean to say I don't. I listen to all sorts of music. I listen to pop, hip hop, dance music, electronic. I listen to it all, and I just love a great song. I love passion in lyrics and performances. Honesty. I don't give a flying fuck what genre it is, whether could be cheesy fucking K-pop. Well, maybe not K-pop because that's pretty lame, but if it's a good song.
There's always exceptions, Mike Elrington. Always got to be
look, no disrespect to K-pop, there's some good stuff in that genre around. Have we got Korea listening in tonight, Tony? I think we've fucking lost them right now.
Yeah.
But no, I love a good song. Yeah. I love, when I hear a good song, whether it's on the radio or online or someone sends me something, I'll connect with it straight away. And that's what I did with Josh.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing that with other artists because there's some fucking great artists out there that never get discovered, never get heard. And I want to try and help find those artists. And that's why another reason why I do the mentoring thing, because I get to find out about all these other artists and bands that I wouldn't normally get to know about because they're just they don't pop up on the radar. And anyone that books a consultation call with me, I always ask them to send through their music before the call. I love to listen to everybody, and they don't have to have pro recordings or anything. It could be a little fucking demo that's done on their iPhone or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to hear something with you singing. I want to hear your song. I want to hear your your voice.
expression, what, you know,
Yeah.
and ultimately, again, it comes down to that thing we talked about, man. You can only help those who help themselves. So, you know, people think that, well, why would I want to talk to this guy or that guy? I'm just a whatever. But people forget that people like us, because there are loads of fucking good mentors out there. I mean, okay, I'm just the fucker who, you know, fucking waves his arms around online.
But you put your hand up and said, right, I want to do this.
you know,
and you got a convincing message.
But make no mistake about it, there is a very, very wide community of people that are doing stuff on ground level, at grassroots level. But they're not like me, you know, who are attention seeking on, you know, on the socials.
Sure.
They're just going about it really quietly, which is very, very honourable. But I was surprised actually, really, when I saw that, you know, we're in this personal development world, which I know, you know, your dad had a long, you know.
Oh yeah, he's been
a
a motivational speaker, life coach for a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad.
And
Robert,
Mr.
Elrington.
Elrington.
Love you.
But again, it's interesting that term in itself, especially amongst music and creatives, it's such a dirty word, because so much of it is.
It's kind of contentious, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also, you know, contextualized around entrepreneurship, wealth creation, and which is fine. But you know, my interest in it is to kind of bring a personal development around it, but more about how can we help encourage kids to live rich lives, as opposed to just being rich and being focused about that in itself. Important as that is, it's certainly you know, financial, you know, freedom and knowledge and business acumen and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, again, it's like, you know, how do we help them with their mindset, so that they first of all give themselves permission to do it, and understand that making it is just in the doing. The fact that you're, you know, day to day, you have made it, motherfucker, as far as I'm concerned.
And helping to enable them to become the best versions of themselves, whether they're young or old. Because I think deep down there's brilliance and there's excellence in all of us, in whatever field that we choose to go down. It doesn't have to be music, it could be something else. But what I love to see, what inspires me so much, is when people find their passion and they go with it and they make it work and they get brilliant and great at something, because they devote their time, their love, their energy, their emotion, their mind, their heart, their soul, their everything to it. And I think deep down there's brilliance and greatness in everybody, and it's up to the individual to find that and get off their ass and fucking do the work. But having mentors and people that have been in the game for a long time to have positions of influence where they can help these people achieve that, I think that's great. And that's why I love your videos every week. I tune in.
Thanks. Well, thanks, dude. You know, I mean, I'm just ranting and raving, bullshitting.
Because I knew you back in the 2003 when we first did the first record together, when you were at Sing Sing.
Correct.
And the sort of person you were back then, you were not the type of guy that would be doing what you're doing now.
No, I was a miserable fuck.
Could you be more honest?
I was a complete miserable
You're not
fuck.
really kidding me.
All right. Yeah.
But see, you made that transition because you realised you wanted to and you had to, and now you're helping others to do it. And I think that's fucking great. I think that I think there needs to be a lot more of that going on.
Well, I think, as I said, I think you'd be surprised as to how much is going on. It's just, as like I said, it's just the people that go out there. But I just saw an opportunity online. I thought, you know what, fuck it. I really give less fucks about what people are going to think about me or whatever. Because I thought, fuck, this made such a profound impact on me going through my own journey, that if I share this with others and I'm really honest about it, again, it's about selling hope to kids and letting them know, oh wow, this guy started. I mean, I'm not saying I got my shit together. I'm getting better at it, but really, it wasn't until fucking way later in life that I really had those aha moments where they really kind of sunk in. Yeah.
What do you think it was that got you to those aha moments? Like, were you just fucking pissed off? Had you had enough of the way that you were and the way that you were living? What was it that really made you go, right, now is the time to fucking pull the finger out of the arse and change?
I think, well, it's just, well, you know, there's been lots of aha moments, but in terms of recent times, it just comes down to this thing, this whole self-esteem thing. I've been kidding myself thinking that I had a good handle on who I was and what I was about, and
Yeah.
having clarity around those things and clarity on my values, and so basically I was just polluted, just completely polluted. So until I was just sat down and told the whole fundamentals, mate, there is nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fucking fine. And once I really honestly allowed myself to soak in that and take it on as a knowing,
Sure.
it just fucking changed.
Yeah.
My whole approach to everything changed. And I said, what the fuck would I have been doing all this time?
Yeah.
But again, for me, I think there had always been people that had come along and told me or tried to help me, and but I wasn't ready. I just
Yeah.
honestly think that, intellectually, I thought, yep, I'm getting this. But I had to actually allow myself to do it because my fear was, fear of change. Well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to change. And then what are people going to say about me? And how am I going to go and talk about self-love and shit like that?
Yeah.
And especially if you haven't been, if you're not living that life, or at least you've been consistent in living that life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no one's perfect. I mean, I'm just as shit cunty as anyone else, and can fuck up like anyone else, and just as flawed. I mean, and
Sure.
I have no problems fucking admitting that. But having said that,
So we hit 8 p.m.
okay, we will sign off.
Yeah, but we're going to Frank us and play a couple of songs.
All right, okay.
Request, that's cool.
All right, that's cool.
We can't talk anymore.
We can. Well, why don't you play?
I-
Why don't you go play a tune or two, and then we'll come.
Okay.
We'll
Because I
come back.
wanted to talk a little bit on mental illness. and
Oh
all
yeah,
that,
we'll
which-
do that. So Tom, I know we're extending over. Is that okay, if Mike? Okay. What time do these guys want us out of here? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Where do you get your ideas when you're creating music? And where does the inspiration
Song ideas. For me, most of my songs come from life experiences, good, bad, or otherwise. It could be relationships that I've had with partners or family members or friends or the people that I've worked with. I've got happy songs. I've got sad songs. I've got a few fuck you revenge songs. They're fun to write. So it's for the most part, it comes from my own personal experiences. But also, occasionally I like to just make shit up and be fantasy driven about it. I did that on a few songs of the last record the Advocates, the band album I did a few years ago. And there were songs on there just made up fantasy, nothing to do with things that I've been through in life. And that was fun too. So I think songs can come from anywhere. It's all about grabbing that moment and documenting it and writing about it and really being honest with how you feel, especially lyrically, and writing it down and hopefully remembering it.
do you find it just comes to you at different times of the day, or is it a process of going into a space?
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. There's a lot of esoteric fucking wank around the whole. Well, if you want to write a song, you've got to go up to the Dandenong Ranges and sit behind that tree that you had your first kiss and you had your first wank. And that girl blew you at that point when you were 16, all that. So it's like, I don't buy into that shit. I think you can connect with inspiration to create at any point in time, whether you are up at that tree getting a fucking sublime head job, or whether you're on a boring plane flight going to LA and looking at fucking ocean for 12 hours and you're bored after 30 minutes. I think it's all about constantly being committed and dedicated to the creative path, knowing within yourself that at any time you can write. And yeah, the more you do that, the more shit you'll write, and you'll look at it and you go, nah, that's on the scrap heap. But at least you've done it. It's better to have a bunch of words on a piece of paper than a blank sheet of paper, I think. It's just that there's a big thing to be said for just doing the work. And the more and more of that you do, the more and more you get into that flow, and you can write anywhere. Yeah. Hope that answered it.
So, buddy, do you need to go and do your thing, or you're right? You're right. You ready? You're all good to play?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Have we got another?
Before you start playing, Thomas wants to know musical lyrics first.
Oh, sometimes it's the
Chicken and egg.
music.
Chicken and
Sometimes,
egg, yeah? It's just a chicken and egg? Is this chicken and egg?
sometimes it's both really. Sometimes it's like I've got in my iPhone. I've probably got in my little notes thing. I've probably got at the moment about 150 song titles. Some of them have lyrics. Most of them don't. And they're examples where the lyrics or the words or the title has come first. I've also got in my voice recording thing a heap of guitar part ideas as well that have no lyrics. So it's both of those things. Hope that answers the question. Any more questions? I love questions. No.
No.
Okay.
All right, dude.
We want a song?
Song, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we'll come, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about the mental illness thing, 'cause I think that's definitely well worth.
Song relates to that.
Yeah. All right. Cool, buddy. Well, I'm going to get off and let you do your thing, and
My vocal steroids. Yeah. Hey, da 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 da. Do we want to check any levels or? Yeah, we're rocking. Ah, da 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 da. Yeah. Take me down. Good. Yeah. That's all right. This is a song called "There Is a Light," and it's about the mental illness thing. So, goes out to anyone suffering depression or anxiety or any of that nasty stuff. I wrote this song specifically about all that. No matter how bad things get, there's always a light. So, hope you enjoy it. I see your pain, the fear in those eyes. You got nowhere to run from the hurting inside. You'll cry on your own, and you'll smile for the show. You don't want to hold on, but you just can't let go. 'Cause there is a light, let it shine on you. There is a light, let it It's all in your head. You'll hear that shit every day. Just drop another pill is all that they say. There will be an end, and you will see a time when you're out of your dark and lonely disguise. 'Cause there is a light, let it shine on you. There is a light, let it shine on you. You. There is a light, let it shine on you. There is a light, let it shine on you. On you. On you. On you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mark Elrington, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo.
That was awesome,
I don't
mate.
normally start the set with that song.
That was awesome, mate. So, okay, so we got about 10 or 15 minutes left, right? We've been kindly given time to explore this this whole, you know, I mean, it's a very broad topic, and you can't give it justice in 10 or 15 minutes, but still, yeah, I think it's a dialogue that is worth an ongoing dialogue that is, you know, that deserves to be had, and particularly in our community where, you know, there's 1 in 3 of us in our artistic creative community that suffers from some degree of mental illness, and so yeah, so I think it's affect a lot of people. But what did you want to say about it? And
Well, just a little bit about my story and my history with it, how I've dealt with it, and hopefully that helps inspire others to find what works for them in dealing with it. About 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, I was at a point in my career and my life where I'd been in the music business for 10 years, and I'd done a lot of stuff. I toured America a few times, and I toured a lot around Australia, and I'd had a career, but I couldn't get it to that next level. And I'd try working with numerous different managers and record labels, none of which worked out. And after the failure of yet another management relationship that went bad, I hit absolute fucking rock bottom, to the point where I'd given up on not just music but life in general. And it was 2009. This was living in a little share house in Brunswick, and I was sleeping 16 hours a day, and for the other 8 hours that I was awake, I would just think about how I was going to kill myself. I'm not kidding you. And I would watch videos on suicide, and I would plan it out, and I never attempted it, thank fuck. But I had given up on life. And it's one thing to be sad and depressed and feel low, but what's even worse than that is emptiness. There's sadness, and that's bad, but at least sadness, you're feeling something. But when there's emptiness, there's the next step from that is death. And it was a horrible time. I'd given up on the one thing that was my dream and my purpose, and the thing that had made my life worth living for so long. I'd given up on it. I felt, and I was convinced that I was a failure and I had nothing else in my life. And it was fucking horrible. It really was, because I didn't know, there was nothing else I was interested in. I thought, well, music's been it. I've got nothing else now. And it was like that for good 4 or 5 months. And my mum used to call me every day, text me, and she called me 5, 10 times a day to see how I was going. She knew what was going on. And she rode my ass for months to go and get help. Initially I said, no, I don't want to get a counsellor. I'm not going to do that. Oh, no, I didn't want to. And eventually I decided to go and get a counsellor. Beautiful woman by the name of Paula Morrow, works at the Vietnam Veterans Counselling Services, because my dad was a Vietnam vet. So I was fortunate enough to have access to all this stuff at no cost. But I started going to see her 1 to 2 sessions a week to begin with, and they were really hard. They were fucking hard when you've got to open up to a stranger about your family, about your personal problems and your family history.
I think sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger. I mean, I'm amazed at just some of the shit that I get to hear from people who don't even know me, but you know, in some cases talking about shit that they've never said to anyone for 20, 25 years in some cases. Like
Exactly.
really deep, dark, heavy shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So part of me feels sad, and the other part feels, well, at least I feel good. But I think there's something about talking to a stranger, because there's no reference back to anyone else. There's no potential blowback, less possibility, or at least perception of judgment.
Exactly.
And all that sort of stuff, you know.
And this person, like, I started going to see her, and it took about 2 to 3 years for there to be a real turnaround where I started to feel better again and got back into music for the right reasons. Because I'll be honest, I let the chase of big success and fame and money drive me so much when I was in my 20s, and that overrode the real reason why I was doing it, and that's what led me to that point. But I stuck with those sessions with seeing Paula, and I still see her today. I don't see her as frequently, but 7 years on now. But it took those initial 2 to 3 years of seeing her, seeing psychiatrists as well. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I used to have massive manic episodes and then major depressive episodes where I'd want to commit suicide and all that. But the counselling was the one thing that triggered a turnaround and a change in me mentally. And of course I had to go out and put things into practice, better eating, exercise, getting back into music for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's again, you got to know why you're doing it, right?
And eventually I was able to establish a turnaround. And I'm happily married now. I have 2 great kids and good career, and I love life. But the reason I bring that up, because I know there's a lot of people out there that, especially artists and musicians, that battle with mental illnesses, whether they be depression or anxiety. There's always a fucking way out. I mean it with every bit of my heart, every bit of my mind. There's always a way out. There's always a way on top of this. You've just got to be willing to take a little bit of action to begin with. I know it's fucking hard. Step outside of that comfort zone. Go and see someone. Counselling really worked for me. And that may not work for everybody. It's all about finding what works for you, because it's a big problem out there. And I love to see people get well mentally, because it's definitely possible. If I can do it, you can. If Tony can do it, you can as well. And I just wanted to share that, because I think it's something that there's a lot of stigma around mental illness. A lot of people battling it that don't talk about it or don't open up about it. And I think we should, if there's one conversation, we should always be fucking well open. This is it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the more we talk about it, the more we share our own experiences, what we've been through and how we can help ourselves, how we can help others, the better off this whole thing is going to be, because it's a fucking bad epidemic out there and it's killing a lot of people.
Here. I'm with you. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you sharing that. And like I said, it's important. I think you know, people who are fans, shall we say, you know, would look up to someone like yourself, and there's this perception of who you are, and sometimes people put people up so high that they forget that sometimes that you're human, and
we're all human,
and you have the same fears and emotions and insecurities, and like anyone else, and we're no different to each other in that respect. We all share the same, you know, we're all connected, so we all share the same kind of shit. But just because, you know, you're maybe in the public eye or may have a certain amount of profile or prestige or whatever you want to call it, you know, you're not devoid of that. You know, if anything, potentially probably more of that could come your way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you bringing that up and sharing that with people.
No.
Because again, when you give people
My
hope,
pleasure.
man. Again, it's this whole authenticity thing we talked about. You know, just the more real we can be and the more honest we can be in sharing our stories and say that there's always a way out. There's always hope. There's always
a light.
a way to
why I wrote that song.
you know, you will and you can get through it, because they say the best way to influence is by example. So if you can be that person who's demonstrated that, then surely, you know, if you follow the steps, or at least have the same mindset towards, you know, approaching it and carrying through with the actions and being consistent with them, you know, over a matter of time, you know, they say the change takes an instant, but a habit takes a little longer, you know.
Exactly.
So once you can start, you know, again, being creatures of habit and programmed and whatnot, once
Doing the work.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Beautiful seeing you, man. Love you, buddy. Thank you.
You too, man. Thanks for
Been
having me on the show.
awesome to see you, buddy. Always good fun. Thank you. So listen, any other gigs you got coming up?
Yeah, I do have a quick plug, an
Go.
album launch.
Do it.
I don't know if the camera can see that. Is a flyer. I have a live at the Flying Saucer Club CD DVD launch coming up in a couple of weeks. It's on Saturday, the 27th of May, at the Flying Saucer in Elrington. I've got the 8-piece band with me on that, and Josh Batten is doing the support.
Sick.
Love you to come out. It's the first DVD I've ever released, and very much it's a CD DVD double, and first full live album I've ever released as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that and having the whole band with me. So
And
come on down if you can.
And I'm also happy, we'll be putting the details up next week, but our next Mastering Music, Mastering Life seminar, which will be Sunday the 2nd of July here at the Croxton Park Front Bar. We sold out last time. I anticipate we'll probably do the same, but our next panel will be a bunch of full-time working musicians. I can confirm that Mike will be there. Mr. Tom Larkin from Shehard, always a favourite with everyone. He'll be coming and dropping the science on that sort of shit. Your mate, my mate, Jeffrey Lang, has just said he would. And I've spoke to Dallas Frasca. She's up in the Northern Territory at the moment. She'll get back to me soon. Hopefully we'll get Dallas on board as well.
Yep.
And Mr. John Corson, Vicious Vinyl, you know,
Nice.
DJ extraordinaire, and again, just bringing the whole dance / electronica club thing to the mix, just to round it all out.
Get some doof.
Yeah, so absolutely, you need a little bit of that. All right, mate. Thanks very much again, Mike.
The consultations that I do, if anyone would like to book
Oh, yeah.
one,
Yeah,
please get in touch via Facebook, or my email is just mike@mikeelrington.com. Always wanting to do more of those consultations to help out other artists. I'd love to see more artists and musicians out there doing it full time. So
It'd be beautiful.
Please get in touch.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Thanks again. All right, guys, well, we're wrapping up. We are out of here. So thank you very much for those of you who have been watching the live stream, for those of you who ask questions, and just generally people who just, you know, I mean, we've only been doing this podcast for a very short period of time, and it's been a,
Great that you're doing it.
you know, oh, thanks, mate. You know, a great learning curve, and but you know, we really had some really good support. So you know, hopefully over time we'll build up and help build a greater sense of community and get more people like yourself on to giving kids hope, mate. Giving kids hope, and hopefully, you know, by learning from other people and their stories, and you know, they'll be able to hopefully, you know, relate to them and go out there and do something different. You know,
Sure.
just you know, send them off on a different fucking, you know, trajectory. So. All right, we're out of here. Thank you once again to Thomas over in the crew from the Backline Project, as always, who make Tanil, and to young Kieran Tucker, badass motherfucker. Also, thank you very much for putting this together. Without you guys, this would not fucking work. Anyway, love you fucks. Have yourselves a good, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And as I always say, please be nice to each other. But more importantly, be nice to yourselves. Love you fucks. Have a good one. Catch you later.